The World Cup is here, a stage built on dreams, but shadowed by controversy. Behind the lights lies a story much more complicated.
In 3 days, the largest football tournament in history kicks off across 3 countries. 48 teams, 104 matches, billions of viewers worldwide. And if you have been paying attention, you already know that the football itself is almost the least complicated part of this story. This is the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and before a single ball is kicked, there is quite a lot to understand. Let us start with the basics. The tournament runs from June 11th through July 19th, split across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It is the first World Cup ever hosted across 3 nations simultaneously. The U.S. is carrying the heaviest load, hosting 78 of the 104 matches. Cities like New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas, and others are all involved. The final will be played in New Jersey. On paper, this is a logistical marvel. In practice, it has already generated more pre-tournament controversy than any World Cup in recent memory. And most of that controversy has nothing to do with football. So let us go through it, piece by piece. The first thing most ordinary fans will feel before they even reach a stadium is the ticket prices. For context, at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the most expensive tickets to the final were around $1,600. That was already considered steep. For this tournament, fan groups have reported that the cheapest available resale tickets in New York are starting around $600, and that is just for a group stage match, sitting in the highest tier of the stadium. The final and knockout rounds are considerably higher. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has defended the prices, saying this simply reflects the market rate in the United States, which is technically accurate, and also not very comforting if you were hoping to go. In Mexico, reselling tickets for profit has been banned for this tournament. Canada's Ontario province recently moved to do the same. The United States has not followed suit, which means the secondary market, where people resell tickets they bought, can charge whatever it likes. And it does. For fans in major host cities, analysts are pointing out something slightly absurd. It may actually be cheaper to travel to a different host city, including the cost of flights and hotels, than to buy a local ticket at resale prices. That is the market rate in action. The New York City mayor has partnered with the host committee to make 1,000 affordable tickets available for local residents. That is genuinely good news. It is also 1,000 tickets in a city of 8 million people. So the math is what it is. Now, beyond the cost of attending, there is a broader atmosphere surrounding this tournament that is worth understanding clearly. Tourism to the United States has been declining in the months leading up to the World Cup. Hotels in host cities have reported booking numbers significantly lower than expected. Part of this is general uncertainty. Part of it is something more specific. International fans from a number of countries face real questions about travel to the U.S. right now. Immigration enforcement has been a prominent feature of domestic policy, and fan groups representing European supporters have formally raised concerns about the presence of federal immigration agents near stadiums. Football Supporters Europe, a major fan organization, filed an official complaint with FIFA stating they were deeply worried about what they described as the increasing militarization of police forces in the United States. For fans with undocumented status already living in the U.S., some have said they are avoiding matches entirely out of concern about enforcement at large public gatherings. That is a real and human consequence that shapes who actually shows up to these events. Then there is the situation with Iran. Iran qualified for this World Cup. They are a legitimate football nation, consistently competitive at the international level, frequently reaching the knockout rounds. Under normal circumstances, their fans would travel to support them. These are not normal circumstances. The United States launched military strikes against Iran earlier this year. A travel ban currently affects Iranian nationals traveling to the U.S. Iranian fans are therefore unable to attend their team's matches, even though all of Iran's group stage games are scheduled to be played inside the United States. The Iranian team itself is exempt from the travel ban, as are team officials, but the players will not be staying in the U.S. between matches. They are based in Tijuana, Mexico, crossing the border each time they play and returning afterward. As of just days before the tournament, there were still outstanding questions about whether all necessary visas had been fully processed. It is, by any measure, an unprecedented situation. A host nation at war with one of the competing nations, whose fans cannot attend and whose team is commuting internationally for every match. The World Cup has seen political complications before. This particular combination is new. FIFA has not publicly applied significant pressure on any of these points. The organization has a formal human rights policy. It has committed, in writing, to upholding international human rights standards in connection with its tournaments. How that commitment interacts with the current situation is a question observers across the political spectrum have been asking without receiving a clear answer. There is also the question of what this World Cup means economically for host cities and their residents. Large international sporting events typically generate significant tourism revenue, boost local hospitality businesses, and create short-term employment. Whether that materializes here depends significantly on how many international visitors actually arrive. Current indicators suggest lower than expected international attendance, which would reduce the economic benefit for hotels, restaurants, transport workers, and small businesses near match venues. Domestic attendance may offset some of that. There is genuine excitement in host cities. Watch parties, fan zones, and free public screenings are being organized across the country. The tournament is expected to draw significant television audiences globally, regardless of in-person numbers. Advertising and broadcast revenues will flow. The economic picture is not uniformly bleak, but it is more uncertain than a standard World Cup cycle. What happens next is genuinely difficult to predict, which is not a phrase we use lightly. The tournament may proceed smoothly, controversies fade into the background, and the football takes over. That has happened before. Russia 2018 and Qatar 2022 both generated extensive pre-tournament criticism that largely receded once matches began. The sport itself has a remarkable ability to command attention. Alternatively, events on the ground, whether related to enforcement, safety, political decisions, or the Iran situation, could keep non-football stories at the center of coverage. That would be a different kind of tournament. What is certain is this: billions of people around the world will watch this World Cup, many of them for the straightforward reason that football, at its best, produces experiences that are genuinely difficult to replicate. Shared moments, unexpected results, countries that rarely see each other competing on equal terms, doing exactly that. This year's expanded format includes first-time participants like Cape Verde and Curaçao, and nations returning after long absences like the Democratic Republic of Congo and Iraq. Each of those teams carries a fan base that has waited years for this moment. Research into previous World Cups has found that the shared experience of following a national team, win or lose, measurably increases social cohesion within participating countries. That effect, according to some studies, persists well beyond the tournament itself. That is not a small thing, and it sits alongside all the complications, not instead of them. The 2026 World Cup is the largest, most logistically ambitious, and perhaps most politically layered tournament in the history of the sport. Whether you're watching for the football, following the geopolitics, or just looking for somewhere to be around other people for a few weeks, there is something here worth paying attention to. The first match kicks off Thursday. Everything else we will figure out as we go.